The Wail of Knocknaria, Part 1, Chapter 1. Dark Return. Rain fell as Siobhan O'Connor walked through the gates of Sligo Cemetery. Her mother's coffin descended into the earth while the priest recited the final prayers. Siobhan wasn't crying. Her tears had dried during the flight from Dublin to her hometown. After watching her mother slit her own throat during a video call, she couldn't forget the smile on her mother's face before the final act, as if relieved by something Siobhan couldn't understand. The cemetery emptied quickly. Only her uncle Declan remained by her side, exuding the characteristic smell of whiskey. On the way home, he drove in silence, checking the rear-view mirror as if something was following them. Upon arrival, Siobhan noticed the windows on the second floor boarded up, the room where her mother had died. Declan vaguely explained that neighbors had complained about strange sounds. The house was cold. On the walls, family photos seemed to watch her. In all of them, her mother smiled, except in the last one, taken weeks before her death. In that one, her eyes were empty. Before leaving, Declan revealed something disturbing. Her mother hadn't been the only one. 3 other people had killed themselves the same way the previous week, all cutting their throats, all 49 years old. The same age her mother had turned 2 days before her death. Siobhan's blood ran cold. When she asked what was happening, Declan mentioned the Banshee, the Banshee. Its wail had been heard from the mountain before each death. Inside were a diary and a small box with soil. A knock at the door startled her. It was an elderly woman with a face disfigured by scars who introduced herself as Offa Brennan. The woman claimed to have unfinished business with Siobhan's mother. Her eyes, so light blue they appeared white, examined Siobhan intensely. A wife commented on the resemblance between Siobhan and her mother, especially regarding the small birthmark behind her ear, what she called the mark of those who can hear her. When questioned, a wife mentioned the Weeper, saying she had chosen the wrong family this time. The old woman handed over a small bag of herbs, instructing Siobhan to burn it before sleeping to keep the wail away. That night, ignoring the advice, Siobhan opened her mother's diary. The first pages were mundane, but the recent entries disturbing. On March 14th, her mother had recorded finding something on the mountain, a stone with strange markings. On March 20th, she wrote about dreams with a woman in white crying at her bedside, and how upon waking her pillow was wet with tears that weren't her own. On April 2nd, she mentioned that the wailing had begun. The last entry dated the day of her death. She comes for all of us at 49. There is no escape. Siobhan closed the diary and noticed a fragment of stone with ancient symbols in the box. A noise in the yard led her to the window, where she saw 3 dead foxes, arranged in a circle, all without eyes. Dawn brought a dense fog. Siobhan contacted the police about the dead animals. The officer who responded introduced himself as Liam Doyle. Tall, with green eyes and a scar on his eyebrow, he showed visible discomfort in the house. When questioned about her mother, Liam answered evasively. About the animals, he suggested it was probably the work of teenagers, mentioning recent problems with strange rituals in the area. While examining the yard, Siobhan noticed how he looked toward the mountain. When she mentioned that her mother had found something there, Liam abruptly interrupted her, stating that her mother should not have gone to that area of ancient and dangerous ruins. After Liam left, Siobhan visited her uncle's pub, the Crying Harp, which was nearly empty. Declan showed new cuts on his arms, some still bleeding. He confessed he couldn't stop, as it was the only thing that silenced the wail. When Siobhan suggested he needed help, Declan replied there was no help for that. He explained the meaning of the name Knocknaria, the Hill of Execution, in the ancient language where the ancients performed sacrifices. An old fisherman in the corner of the bar suggested that Declan tell Siobhan about the family history. Declan shot the man a furious look, who shrank back. When Siobhan insisted, Declan changed the subject. If you're enjoying this horror story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the chilling conclusion. Back at the house, Siobhan found the back door open. On the kitchen floor, wet footprints led to the basement. Arming herself with a knife, she followed the trail. The basement smelled of damp earth and blood. The footprints ended in the center of the room. On the ceiling was a symbol identical to the fragment of stone. A high-pitched, distant sound made Siobhan freeze. It was a woman's cry, coming from everywhere. It lasted only a few seconds, but was enough to leave her with tears in her eyes. That night, she decided to use Aoif's herbs. The bitter smell filled the room as she continued reading the diary. In the middle pages, she found a disturbing revelation. Her mother had discovered that all O'Connor women died at 49, all by suicide, all cutting their own throats. A pattern that went back more than 10 generations. Siobhan felt her blood freeze. Her grandmother had died when she was little, and she had always been told it was an accident. Now she began to question that version. A noise upstairs startled her. It was light footsteps, like those of a barefoot woman. But the second floor was locked, the windows boarded up. Armed with the knife, Siobhan climbed the stairs. The door to her mother's room, which should have been nailed shut, was ajar. From inside came a soft crying. Pushing the door, she saw a female figure sitting on the bed with her back to her. Long white hair fell to the floor. The figure trembled, sobbing. When Siobhan asked who she was, the figure stopped crying. Slowly, it began to turn its head at an impossible angle, the neck cracking. Before the face was revealed, the lights flickered and the figure disappeared. On the floor, where the creature had been, was a puddle of tears, and floating in them, a human eye. The next morning, Siobhan woke to knocking at the door. It was Liam with 2 other officers, reporting another suicide that had occurred the night before. The officers went straight to the basement. Liam remained with Siobhan, revealing that the victim had been Sean McCarthy, 49, who had cut his own throat with a shard of glass. He asked if Siobhan had heard a cry during the night. Sean's wife had reported that he had begun to act strangely after hearing a cry coming from the mountain, exactly like Declan and her mother. The other officers returned from the basement, carrying an old wooden box that Siobhan had never seen. Liam said only that it was evidence, suggesting she should visit Oif Brennan. Siobhan then headed to Oif's cabin on the slopes of Knocknaria. The place seemed from another century, with hanging herbs and symbols carved into the door. Oif showed no surprise, asking if Siobhan had already heard the wail. When she confirmed, Siobhan questioned the connection to her family. The old woman explained that centuries ago, Siobhan's ancestors had captured the Banshee, which was originally not an omen of death, but a protector who cried to ward off evil. Siobhan's family had imprisoned her for power, as the Banshee's pain could be channeled. But there was a price. Each generation, she claimed a life from the lineage that imprisoned her, always at 49, the age she was when captured. Siobhan murmured that it was madness, but Oif challenged her to explain the suicides and what she had seen in her mother's room. The old woman confessed that she also saw the Banshee, having survived the fire that the entity had sent to kill her family when they tried to free her. Oif explained that Siobhan's mother had broken the seal that kept the Banshee contained. Now she was free, but distorted by centuries of imprisonment, no longer a guardian, but a spirit of pure vengeance. Her goal was to extinguish Siobhan's lineage and possibly affect others in the city. On the way back, Siobhan stopped at the cemetery. Upon reaching the family tomb, she found Liam kneeling before her grandmother's headstone. When questioned, Liam admitted there were secrets about her family. Siobhan insisted on knowing, arguing that with her mother dead and other people dying, she was past the point of worrying about family secrets. Liam pointed to an old headstone, Catherine O'Connor, 1873-1922. When Siobhan suggested it would be her great-great-grandmother, Liam revealed it was also his great-grandmother. He explained that the O'Connor and Doyle families had been linked for generations. The Doyles always protected the O'Connors and hid their secrets, the sacrifices. To keep the Banshee contained, Siobhan's family sacrificed children each generation, specifically Doyle children. Siobhan couldn't believe it, but Liam continued, revealing that his own father had been the last, taken at 17 to the stone circle at the top of the mountain. Liam showed a medallion he carried, containing a stone fragment identical to what Siobhan had found, part of the seal her mother had destroyed. Siobhan's mother had discovered the truth and preferred to free the Banshee, even knowing she would be the first to die. However, she hadn't fully understood. The Banshee didn't just want revenge against the O'Connor family, but against everyone involved. At that moment, a high-pitched scream cut through the air. It wasn't human, nor animal. It was something between the two, loaded with centuries of pain and fury. The wail of the Banshee, and it was coming from the direction of Siobhan's house. Enjoying the content? Subscribe so you don't miss the continuation of this intriguing story. Also, share it with your friend who loves horror stories. And don't forget to give that like to strengthen the channel.